I just blinked and I lost an hour. Where did it go? Hey guys, I'm here to tell you about my petrifying experience that happened recently where I just blinked and a whole hour was gone. But before I do that, let me explain how this is even possible. The human eye can blink anywhere between 4 to 12 times per minute. However, there are some reported cases of people blinking up to 30 times per minute. On average, we spend around 10% of our lives sleeping, which equals out to roughly 1/3 of an hour. If we were to estimate and say that someone blinks 30 times per minute, that means that they would lose 1 hour every 30 minutes. Now, I don't know about you, but that sounds absolutely terrifying. It makes me wonder if those extra 18 blinks that we have each minute are worth the risk. With that said, here's my story. I live in a bustling city, and recently I'd been feeling really tired. I was getting sick more often. When I wasn't sick, I felt drained and exhausted all the time. It was to the point where I didn't feel like doing anything. I'd come home from work and flop straight onto my couch, hardly making conversation with my family. They'd ask me how my day was, and I'd just shrug and say it was fine, wishing I could do something other than rest. I liked playing video games, but I couldn't even make it through one game without falling asleep in the middle of it. I tried forcing myself to stay awake so that I could watch TV with my family. But within minutes, I started yawning uncontrollably and eventually fell asleep. No matter what I did, I just couldn't shake off this weird tiredness that had been plaguing me for days. My family noticed how bad it was getting and told me I should take a break and get some sleep. However, they also knew that I'd already been trying to do that. Since they had no idea how to help, they decided to drop it. One night I came home from work earlier than usual and collapsed onto my couch. My family was eating dinner at the table, and when they saw me come in, they asked me how I was feeling. I just gave them a weak smile and shook my head, signaling that I was okay. Little did they know that I actually wasn't feeling well at all. This time, instead of trying to force myself to stay awake, I closed my eyes and tried to nap. Normally, I could fall asleep pretty easily, but tonight was different. As I laid there with my eyes closed, all I could do was stare at the darkness. I struggled to drift off, but no matter how hard I tried, I just couldn't fall asleep. Eventually, I gave up and opened my eyes again. When I did, I looked over at the clock and saw that I had been lying there for only 5 minutes. Disappointed, I got up and headed to my room. As soon as I got there, I flopped face first onto my bed and closed my eyes. I thought to myself, just 10 minutes. I'll just take a quick 10-minute nap, and then I'll be back downstairs in no time. But as soon as my eyes met the darkness, I started to fall asleep. And in a panic, I tried to fight it, but it was too late. My eyelids started to get droopy, and within seconds, I fell fast asleep. I slept so heavily that I started snoring like a freight train. Hours went by, and I didn't stir until I heard a knock on my door. Groggily, I opened my eyes and sat up in bed. To my surprise, it was early in the morning, and sunlight was streaming through my window. Confused, I checked the clock, and my jaw dropped. It read 6 a.m., and I had been asleep for 8 hours. I couldn't believe it. I remember going to sleep at around 9 p.m. the night before, but how could I have slept for 8 hours? Was there a part of the day that I was missing? I tried to think back to when I last woke up, but no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't remember anything. It was as if a huge chunk of time had been ripped away from my memory. I got up and walked to the bathroom. As I stared at my reflection in the mirror, I noticed that my eyes were drooping and felt super heavy. I blinked a few times and suddenly realized what must have happened. I had developed a serious case of sleep paralysis. Sleep paralysis is a condition that causes you to wake up while your body is still asleep. Because of this, you become unable to move or speak, leaving you trapped in your own body. This is normally accompanied by hallucinations that often leave those affected in a state of panic. According to the National Sleep Foundation, approximately 2.6 million Americans alone suffer from sleep paralysis. And although I don't have any statistics on how many people this happens to worldwide, I'm sure millions upon millions of people have experienced it. In my case, I had no idea that I had been suffering from sleep paralysis. I simply thought I was taking a nap. However, the reason why this is scary is because sleep paralysis normally occurs during REM sleep, otherwise known as rapid eye movement sleep. This is the deepest phase of sleep where dreams most commonly occur. So essentially, I had somehow managed to fall into a deep sleep in less than 5 minutes. This meant that I had slept through a huge portion of the day, including a full 8 hours of nighttime sleep. This is why I believe that I may have developed a serious case of sleep apnea. Sleep apnea is a disorder where your breathing repeatedly stops and starts while you sleep. People who have this condition often have a hard time staying asleep and tend to wake up frequently throughout the night. For me, this explains why I was having trouble falling asleep. Also, studies have shown that sleep apnea can cause excessive daytime sleepiness. This would explain why I was constantly tired and drowsy even though I was getting plenty of sleep at night. To make matters worse, it's estimated that 80% of cases go undiagnosed. That means that millions of people could be walking around with sleep apnea and not even know it. After my frightening episode, I made an appointment with my doctor and told him about everything that had been happening. He ran some tests and discovered that I did indeed have sleep apnea. Thankfully, there's a lot of things that can be done to treat sleep apnea. For me, my treatment involved wearing a breathing mask while I sleep. Although it's taken some time to get used to wearing this mask, I wouldn't trade it for the world. Now I can breathe much easier at night and I'm not nearly as tired during the day. The scariest part of all of this to me is knowing that I could have continued to lose hours of my life every day without even realizing it. Who knows how long I would have kept doing this for if my family hadn't intervened. All of this makes me realize just how precious our time on Earth really is. Life is unpredictable and we never know what's going to happen. That's why it's important to cherish every moment and never take it for granted. The saying goes, you never know what you've got till it's gone, and I'm living proof of that. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and share it with a friend. I appreciate all of your love and support, and I hope to see you next time.